Okay, hello, welcome to the Zelensky Games in between Christmas and New Year's stream. I will post this on my Discord first before we do anything else, so the people on there know that things are happening. Let's see. Quickly snatch that link. Go down to my YouTube feed. You were very welcome to join my Discord server if you want to chat about the things I do, or if you want to chat about Gamedev in general. Yeah, so today we'll see how it goes, but probably mostly Aseprite things, because as in painting stuff, because so I'm gonna release the game next month, and I have my to-do list, which looks like this. It's roughly 42 points. The one with X I have already addressed, and on here we have acorn graphics and other oak graphics, and that's the sort of the last two big chunks of art that I have left to fix. And then there's some animations that I have to do on top of that, but there's not a whole lot of art, like that's the last basic art. I can show some stuff I've done before we get going. So I've made this main menu is probably gonna have some logo and stuff. This is just I cleaned it up a bit. You have this options menu now with the gamepad bindings, and I've added in these glyphs, and you can go down here and you can say if you want Xbox or PlayStation glyphs. It tries to auto detect it, but sometimes people emulate. They have PlayStation controllers, especially like me. I use an old PlayStation controller that Windows thinks is an Xbox controller. So all games always assume incorrectly that it's an Xbox controller. So I think it's good in general for games to have something like this, where you can say, ignore whatever this operating system is saying. I want these images for the buttons in the game. Right. Yeah, keyboard bindings here as well that you can change. And you can press new game and you get into the game like this. And as you saw, there was a continue button there in the main menu. Yeah, I have the in-game menu like this also, and the options are also there. Like I make them slightly smaller so they fit on the right side here. Also have the gamepad bindings, and then you can quit to the main menu and continue. It's not a fantastic save system. It's mostly, it knows which level you were on, and it makes sure to set up all the progress correctly so that you have like the state flags the same as, so essentially, the levels aren't that long, so it's like a checkpoint system, and it's not a long game, so there's just a few of those. It's just so if you turn the game off, you get to continue roughly from where you were. But that's not what we're doing today. Today we are, I'm gonna adjust this mic, this boom over here a bit. I always end up adjusting this, maybe like that. So today we are going up here, and there's this big tree up here. Yeah. And you will ride in the rocket up, and I've already started on some of this, so you can talk to this rocket. It says it's an object. Oh, this is also some stuff I did during Christmas, or just before Christmas, so that the text appears like this, like it appears over time. Makes the dialogue feel much more like someone saying something. Let's fly up there. Sure, jump in. After I've done with all the graphics, I want to make sure all these, there's no snapping, of the camera like that. And then it flies up, and here there are some glitches here. Apparently this cloud is for some reason, this goes behind there, and up here is where I'm currently working. So it's gonna be this little treetop scene with an acorn you can talk to that hangs. I gotta make it a bit smaller, I think, or maybe push this branch up a bit. I don't know. I just made it like this now, and now there's not enough. Maybe I'll make this branch come up a bit more here so it can hang down. And then I have to make the acorn and finish all these graphics and add some of these puffy leaf things. That's the only way I know to make something that looks like leaves. Make a puffy leaf thing. You can run around here. Yeah. So I'm gonna paint some of that. That's what we're doing. So here is my tree branch stuff. I was wondering, why is this seam like this? I think I've accidentally painted all the way to the... I see what happened. I have to take some of this, copy some of this into here, and line it up again, however that works. Because these two overlap a bit. How much do they overlap? I don't know. Maybe like this. Let's try that. Is this one? Yes. So I reloaded my texture. We see this roughly correct. I just need to fix these transitions here. So I'm just gonna paint this big old tree, put in all the big old branches and all that funny stuff. This still looks a bit wrong. I think it might be misplaced, the whole entity. It's probably a bit misplaced. Yeah, that's how it's supposed to be. It was just not in the correct spot. That means I just painted in some colliders here to make a little area for it to be in. You see the red. But that means up here I wanna, because now you can run up to this and climb it, but it ain't climbing in the air. So we will move some of this stuff. Oh, there's a selection box over there. That's why I can't paint. Like that. Fill that in. Use the eraser. Yeah, now it moved. Okay, and this branch is too low, I've realized, so I need to, maybe we do like this. One thing about trees when you paint them, a common, I think on the other parts here, like sometimes you make the branches too straight, or maybe you make them like wavy like this, you know, that. But if you look at trees, they often have like quite sharp turns and stuff in their branches. I guess that's because the branches break off a bit. And then, you know, just like if you have your plant of basil in the kitchen and you cut off a piece, then the new stems that grow out when you cut off the main stem will go in another direction, so you get this kind of, and I guess things break off on trees. I don't know how they work. How does tree work? No one knows. Well, someone knows. Some tree expert knows how tree work. But I'm not tree expert. I'm guy painting random big tree. So we do something like this. So gonna release the game next month, yeah, and probably be towards the end of January, and I'll make a last sort of build for anyone to test within 2 weeks maybe, and then I will put it live on itch somewhere near the end of January. Haven't decided exactly when. I am in the process of getting a Steam page account. It's currently with the US tax authorities, and they're waiting for them to clear it. The Steam release might be slightly delayed from the itch release, we'll see. It might also be that with Steam you want a bit more, maybe you want a few wish lists before you put it live. Usually if it was a big project, then it's very critical that you have like thousands of wish lists, but this is more, you know, for me to put something out to show that I can make a game, to just have something out there, but I still want some wish list on there, so we'll see. It might be end of January on Steam, or maybe somewhere in February, we'll see. But it will be an itch in end of January. Also, when you buy the game, this looks like a bit funny, it looks like a hook, a claw. When you buy the game on, at least on itch, we'll see about Steam if it's possible, you will also get the full source code with all the source assets, and it will be sort of with a license that is for educational use only, so you can't resell it and stuff, but it will be like, you know, for anyone that's interested in what's all the part of a video game. And it's, you know, I'll make sure to make it easy for people to build and experiment with and stuff. Yeah. No, but this looks weird. This looks like a weird claw now. So maybe if we round this top off, it will look better. Yeah, I don't know. Anyways, then this guy is not gonna be just a green blob like this. I'm just haven't gotten around to really painting it. Yeah, something like that. And then we go down here. Oh, hello, Hannes. Thanks for stopping by. So I need to fill this stuff at the bottom in as well. Just gonna be right back. Meow, 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 meow. Thank you. Hannes says the tree looks good. It's oh, looks like this. Like there's some, you know, this isn't done because it ends up off camera. This part I might need to extend a bit. We'll see. But I want to add these puffy things to it also, so it looks a bit more. It shouldn't look dead. Let's see here. So the puffy things, we just take the brush and we increase the size and we just plop out a few. Maybe we even have a little offshoot like this. Increase the brush size again. One more. It's like this one looks round to me. This one looks not round. Like every no, this one looks, yeah. See, this looks very round. This does not look as round. So you have like not just one brush size difference. You can, if you want a very round feeling, you can make sure to try different brush sizes. If you're just using pixel art like this. La 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 la. And then I usually go, oops, then I do everything wrong. I have my fancy dithering brush here that I start with painting in like this. Then I paint that one like that. And I'm just trying to add some roundness to them. Like that maybe. Then like that. Maybe something like this. And maybe something like that. Like this. Yeah, and then we change to the no, to this with that. And then we paint the back side like this. I'm trying to come up with ways to do this quickly so I don't spend a lot of time on each of these puffy things. So I start with the dithering pattern, and then I go into the normal brush again, zoom in, and then we add in the fully colored, maybe like that, single plop like this. Actually, maybe it's like this instead. Let's see, like that maybe. Here we move these. Put like that. Maybe it goes up a bit like this. Oh, 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 oh. I'm now, these days, for Christmas, my girlfriend got this Wacom. It's the Wacom. Oh, it's not the super fancy one. It's the Wacom into a standard medium size. It's also wireless, but I use it connected with a cable all the time. But it's actually, I've used an Intuos Pro before, and this is actually pretty. I think it's good. Actually, the Intuos Pro I had this the buttons on it for doing shortcuts. Those were on the, I don't know if it was a very old Intuos Pro or something I used, but those buttons were like rubbery and weird. They were like annoying to press. These buttons are actually nicer to press. They have like a click, 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 click on them. They feel like normal buttons. So I actually prefer the buttons on these. So in some ways, this is better than the Intuos Pro I had. I don't know, yeah, if that's still the current model, the one with the like rubbery buttons, but never liked that one much. Well, I liked the tablet, but I didn't like the buttons on it. But I always sit with my keyboard anyways. I do most shortcuts with left hand on the keyboard. It looks like I think it looks on the stream like I'm left-handed, because I think it's flipped. Wait. You never know. But I'm not. I'm not that cool. Painting some So these are like round ploppy bush things. That's the best way I can manage right now to make something that at least looks a bit bushy on the tree. We'll see how it looks in a bit. Zoom out. Oh, these up here I haven't done. Okay, these look a bit weird now because they because there's not enough material between them, I realize. Maybe yeah, I think I flipped my camera on purpose because now when it's like this, then I can point. If I point towards the screen, it actually points. Now I'm pointing to the right side of the screen, and then I'm actually pointing sort of above. Yeah, it's correct for me referring to the screen. I don't know if that's of any use, but I thought it was nicer to have it like that. Disconnect these maybe. We'll make a new. Wait, can I even put things out here? Ah, these grow together. Oh, that's fine. That's fine. Just making a tree. See how this turns out. Painting some plops. Okay. Move these. This probably shouldn't be that dark. So it's sort of like a shadow thing going on, right? Maybe these two can... The lighting here is a bit weird. Right. This should probably go down like this. We'll see. Maybe it goes like this. Who knows? Put some stuff like that. Yeah. Something like that. This a bit thinner, put some dark. Okay. Starting to look a bit cozier. Now we can move down here, and I got the feeling of these barky stuff better almost in the beginning. Like more flowy. Try to bring that back. Just try to make it flowier. Something like this. This goes in here. So yeah, today I'm trying to finish up this area in the game up here, up in the treetops. So we're gonna paint the whole tree, make sure all the parts that are visible have graphics, and that it's however I want it to be. And that we're gonna fix this guy here so that it's has some actual graphics. It's supposed to be an acorn with a acorn hat on. And it's gonna grow there, and I'm gonna go up and talk to it. Something like that. We'll see. So now we're just painting the floor down here, trying to add some texture to it. I'm currently just using 2 colors for this. See if I add some highlights later or not. Problem is I only have 8 colors to choose from. So I'm instead for this big tree trying to make it a bit dark and have all these bark things going on so that it looks important and stands out. Something like that. Not too bad. Not too bad. So yeah, I did a few just before Christmas. I was at my parents' and I did a few things with the game. Show some stuff I did. I have it, my Discord server here. So one thing I did was that lots of talks here. I did this stuff so that when you talk to characters, the text appears over time, like that. Quite nice. And then I've got it running on this old MacBook. It was funny. So the game has only been running on PC so far, but it uses Raylib and Odin, which both work on Mac, but I hadn't tried anything. So I downloaded, for some reason I decided I wanted to compile the Odin compiler from source, because that's what I do on my PC. Also because sometimes I have some changes in that in the compiler repository. So anyways, I just want to make sure that I could do that. So then I started on a Mac, and this Mac is very old and slow. But Odin uses LLVM, which is the thing that the Odin compiler is built using. And LLVM took like more than 6 hours to compile on the Mac, that old Mac. So it just sat throughout the night in a shelf, the fans going ooh. Then the morning was done, and then I compiled the Odin compiler, and it worked, even though they said I needed Xcode to do it, but the version of Xcode I had was very old and I couldn't update it to the new one, but it still somehow worked. But then I rewrote a build script in Bash for the Mac, because I only had a batch file from the PC that built a release build of the game. And then when I eventually got that shell script to work and ran it, and it compiled the game, then it just compiled. I was like, okay. And then I started it, and everything worked. It wasn't 0 things that was wrong. So that's like a big thumbs up to both Odin and Raylib, that it just worked on the first try, except that that LLVM took forever to compile, but that's an LLVM problem. But yeah, and the game ran fine on this old computer. It's from 2012, I think, that MacBook. So that was fun. So I got the Mac working. I got the funny appear over time text, like that, and then I got bindings. I have that I can show between the running game. I have the options here, the keyboard bindings and the gamepad bindings with the glyphs all painted in nicely. Now finally I also did so that if you walk up to an NPC, I can show in the game as well. if you walk up to an NPC and stand behind them like this, then it automatically walks around, faces it and stuff, which is nice. And also if you stand really close like this and press, then it walks a bit, so that it has like a blessed position. It wants to be in a specific position. Some NPCs don't really have a front or back, but it still has a position it wants to walk to. So there's the waterfall, you can stand here and press, and then it goes like that. So when you come from this side, it still wants to walk there, but that's just because it only has one point where it wants to talk from. Anyways, I did all those things, and I think the combination of the cat walking up to the NPC with text appearing over time, it just made it feel a lot more like you were trying to go in and talk to someone. Anyways, yeah, let's see, where are we? We need to go back to the other level here, fly up here. And then draw some more lines. Do, 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 do. I hope everyone had a nice Christmas. Or if you don't celebrate Christmas, or if you don't even have time off for Christmas, then I hope you had a nice time anyways, whatever you've been doing. One thing I think about almost every year during Christmas is how weird it must be for Australians to always like look at TV, but you know, anyone on the southern hemisphere where there's summer during Christmas, and this, you know, we have all these American movies and European movies that have like the Christmas movies where it's always snowing. It's like some Home Alone stuff in New York or something, you know. And Australians and I guess the South Americans and maybe not in South Africa, I'm not sure how it works exactly, how the weather is everywhere, but it must be weird to always having everyone assume that it's winter during Christmas. Or I guess if you live at the equator, it's always summer, but that's another thing. It's just that there's lots of people who don't even, like, people who never thought about this, that maybe they've never been to the southern hemisphere, and that they don't know that it's winter in, for example, summer in Australia during Christmas. But I live in Sweden, and it's very snowy outside. It has been an unusually snowy winter. Usually, it's only if you live in northern Sweden that you get a lot of snow in December. It usually is in the middle to south Sweden. It's usually in February and January that you have permanent snow. But this year it's been almost whole December has had snow. What am I doing? Does this look okay? Maybe it does. So this is supposed to be kind of lighting, so it's both lighting and bark, right? So the dark patches at the back here is because the sun is up here. So the lines should both become thinner, but also maybe slightly more on the side that is sunlit, because that's, you know, what you would see. It's easier to make out details in the sunlight, but it's less dark or something like that. I don't know. Trees. Thank you, horse emoji. Great name. Maybe I should be cat emoji. I have cat emojis on my Discord server. Took walk cycles from my game and made into animated emojis. Although, I guess they're not emojis really. They just Discord says it's emojis. Because emojis needs to come from a font, don't they? Was the, you know, back in MSN Messenger times you had the emoticons, and those were actually just images. But it's quite interesting these days with emojis that are actually part of some kind of giant font, so they can be copied like text. But then softwares like Discord and stuff introduces their own and still calls them emojis, but they're not really emojis because they're not part of any emoji standard. Greatest Japanese invention, putting funny faces in the fonts. Emoji. I also like with emojis that there is you know, all these human faces, but then there's also like 10. There's no other animal that has this, but for cats there's like 10 cat faces that is like laughing, crying, happy and stuff. No other, and just only for cat you have extra faces like that. Maybe that's because of Japan again, bit of a cat interested land country. Is this even supposed to be? But I think, I don't know which country has the most domestic cats. I think the UK is pretty high. All these small, medium-sized cities in the UK with like an enormous amount of cats. Almost so many that it becomes a problem because they're all running around outside killing a bit too many small critters. Yeah, we're running around here. It almost looks like a muscly arm. Scary tree. I'm trying to make it look less scary with the puffy leaves. We'll add more puffy leaves in a bit. Okay, I'm gonna speed this up a bit. Goes better if you make sound. I think Bob Ross said that. It doesn't work. I think that's when you paint snow on mountains. Bob Ross says it doesn't work if you don't make sounds. It's true. Sometimes you have to. Especially when you make like a shoom like that. I actually like Bob Ross, the whole painting technique. I've painted a few paintings like that with oil paint. It's quite fun. It's like half the technique is how you load your brush and using the brush as sort of a stamp almost. So it's a lot of time putting paint into the brush and looking at the brush so that the bristles look correct before you sort of push it into the canvas to make these different shapes. I can recommend it. If you've watched Bob Ross and you want to try my biggest I wouldn't say pro tip, but the biggest tip I would give about that people often do wrong is Bob Ross always puts the white paint on first, like a thin layer of this thin white paint he calls magic white or something. If you ever try that technique, you should make sure that layer is super thin. So you put it on, and it's a thin paint, and when you put it on the canvas, you take your finger and you press the canvas and you look at it with your finger, and you should still be able to see your fingerprint. It shouldn't cover It totally. You should just like cover the tops of the fingerprint, but the sort of valleys in the fingerprint should still be not have paint on them. That's how thin it should be. Otherwise, you guys gonna make mud, as Bob says. Mud mixer. Because it's quite sad if you try to do a Bob Ross painting and you mess that up, then whatever you do, it's never, you're screwed from the start. You can't save it unless you can scrape it all off, and if you get too much under, you can. Why am I describing how to paint Bob Ross while not painting with oil? But anyways, if you do put the white paint on and you get too much, then you can use a dry brush and try to take some off, and then wipe that brush and then take some more off until you lessen the amount. That's today's Bob Ross painting tip while painting not with oil in Aseprite. Has nothing to do with this. Trying to make sure. This would be okay. Okay, let's look at this little arm that goes up. This is sort of, you're not supposed to leave this area. You're supposed to go up and talk to this guy. So you have, I'm gonna add some bushy things here, and something here. So it all feels nice and lush. Okay, now the light comes from over here. So that's why it gets dark here, and it shouldn't be that dark here actually. That's wrong. Just remove that for now. But it should get darker again here. Quite nice in Aseprite. You have your left hand on the keyboard and you can hold Z to zoom. Press B for the brush, E for the eraser. Just those 3 keystrokes is most of it I do on the keyboard. I also have undo as a quick button on the Wacom, but I tend to just undo using the keyboard, Control Z. What I do use on I have quick button for making the brush bigger and smaller, because that usually is like control and mouse wheel, which is a bit annoying to do on the Wacom. So I just have that on the have that as a quick button on the Wacom. Dun 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 dun. Okay, and this one goes like this. And then it comes down. I think, yeah, no, that looks okay. I was thinking if sometimes branches sort of, like what you can do here also is to have like this one actually come down a bit, so it's like sitting not perfectly on the edge here. It's like actually connected a bit further down, and this wood behind it, like on the top here, actually runs behind this smaller branch that comes out. But oh. Actually it's sort of like that. If I just remove these two, then maybe do like that. Maybe add a bit more shadow here, because this is, once again, this is in shadow. Like that maybe. Yeah, looks more reasonable. I think the eraser, this is too beefy up here. Something like that maybe. Thin it down. Starting to look like something. Something is looking like something. Hey. I used to watch Bob Ross for dinner entertainment. I think I watched like hundreds of episodes because they're perfect. They're 25 minutes or something, 30 minutes maybe. So I just watched Bob Ross and ate my dinner for like 2 years. But I never painted until much later with oil. And I was like, I know how to do this. And then I tried my first painting. I was like, I have no idea what I'm doing. Because you need to try a bit. You can't just watch. And then it's funny, so I watched all the Bob Ross, like that many Bob Ross videos, and then I tried painting and didn't go so well. And then the first video I watched after painting, trying to paint the first time, I learned more than in many videos combined together, because I knew like, oh, but what does it do here? Because this is a place, you know, where I found it hard. And then I was like, oh, it's actually, this is what it does. Now I'm talking about Bob Ross again. Do. And then we don't know what we're doing anymore. So easy to just get a bit too messy when painting this. Need to think a bit about how the sort of bark on the tree flows. Maybe there needs to be a bit more holes. This, connect those two. Go up like that. Let's finish this part up here before we do anything down there. Like that. And then we want more puffies, as I apparently call it. And maybe we should try to like not have it totally just bally. Do this one like that, this one like I'm not sure. Put the basic shape in. Maybe actually remove that. This one is coming from out here. Hello, someone airy. Thank you for the good luck. Yeah, I am drawing for a project I'm working on. The game is actually running over here. So I can save this and so there's this cat running around. And you go on a little adventure. Currently I'm doing this scene up in a tree. So I need this giant tree with lots of bark and puffy leaf things and stuff. But the game starts, so now I changed level with hotkey. The game starts sort of over here, and you can zoom out to the outside here. Yeah. Whoop. Can't unlock the, no, there we go. Couldn't unlock the camera. So you run around in this little foresty area. It's a little adventure game where you can talk to your friend here, and he sends you on a mission to get ingredients for pancakes, but then stuff goes a bit wrong. You have to go on a weird adventure with your friend, the Space Onion. And here's the waterfall. Hi, Mr. Wet. Hope you're having a splashy day, he says. Yeah. So it's sort of supposed to be a short adventure game where you play as a cat. And it's sort of an otherworldly little story going on. Change back to this level. And go up here again. And then we select this and that. Then we put the basic dithering in. Like this. Maybe a bit like that also. Do some like this. Ooh. Put in some more because some of it would be lost when we paint in the non-dithered green parts. Then we select that one and that one. Then we do the dark backsides. Like this. The music I have on the stream is actually the in-game music. I used it during the last stream. I was playing it on in the separate program, but today I'm just having the game running in the background and it's actually playing the music on a loop. It's gonna be this a little relaxing jazz soundtrack going on while you play the game. I think it suits it somehow. Thank you, Summonary. I hope it comes out like I want to. I'm gonna try to release the whole game next month, late January, on beyond first on itch.io, and then I'm also gonna make a Steam page. I'm waiting for the access from Valve to get to my Steam page because they need to clear some stuff with the US tax authorities before you can get access and stuff. And then I can put out a link to my Steam page and people can wishlist the game and a bit like that, you know, the usual stuff. Then I'll release it. Might release on itch a bit before Steam. We'll see. Not sure what the best idea is there from a, from a business standpoint, but some people say you can use itch.io to, like, you link to your Steam page there as well. Then people who are just interested can look at that page, but they actually want to buy on Steam, so they wait a bit. Some people just like having all the games on Steam, it seems like. Meanwhile, I just buy games wherever I find them. Usually I buy on the most. If it's not available on GOG or itch.com, then I usually buy there and get the. On GOG, I'm very old school. I still download the offline installer. I don't use GOG Galaxy. I download the offline installer and I install it. And then I put the installer in a folder somewhere for later. It feels... then I can just no matter what happens with GOG.com, I can always install my game. Meanwhile on Steam, if you buy there, and Valve decides that it's time to not exist, your games are gone. But to be fair, probably not gonna happen at least in a long while. Dun 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 dun. Oh, then we need some dark over here. Dun, 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 dun. So someone Ari asks if I have any advice for a college student who wants to draw his own assets and make a game by himself. Just start. There's no like. I would say just start drawing. Like if you want to make pixel art, then get Aseprite. You can. It's paid software, but it's very cheap and it's like the best piece of software ever made for pixel art. Just get that. Draw your character. In the beginning you don't need animation, but then there's support for animation here, and animation is sort of like flip book, you know, you draw one frame and then you draw the next. I can show my player cat. Where is it? Source data. Here's my cat. So there's 4 frames here, you see it changes when I click this, so like a flip book animation is running. 4 frames. But you know, start with just no animation and draw something, and then you need some way to make the game itself after you made the assets. So you made just a picture that's just your player character, and then you can make, you know, something to stand on, some ground. You can draw some ground in a program like this. If you have a game engine that supports tile sets. Where is it? I have my textures. You can make a tile set like this. Here I've drawn different tiles, and then I have an editor in my game where I can draw these tiles out. I can select them and draw like this to make ground. But there are game engines that, like, depending which kind of game you want to make. Like the most common, if you know a bit of programming, you can try using Unity, and they have 2D game support, and you can even get your tile set in there and paint around. Some people also like using Game Maker and stuff. I'm using just Odin programming language and Raylib, but that's slightly more, I would say, it's a slightly more enthusiast approach to have. There's no like game engine with a built-in editor. It's just a programming language and a thing to render graphics, and I built everything myself. That's yeah. I wouldn't recommend that if you just, as long as you know a bit of programming, and just try drawing. Just draw anything. Just put it in the game. Because if you have a program like Unity, then you can draw some stuff in Aseprite, and then you can drag and drop those PNGs into your game project inside the game engine and place them out in the world, and then you can add colliders to them and add physics so you can run around and jump and stuff. But yeah, you will need to do some programming always when you make a video game. I think you shouldn't. If you don't know programming, you just try to learn something while you also learn to draw. It's not. It's never gonna. The idea of like, oh, I don't know programming, so I'm not gonna bother. You can learn by just following some tutorials, learn some basic stuff. Yeah, so you say, yeah, you feel like, you're saying that you feel like a beginner with animation, but to be honest, I'm mostly a programmer. This is my first game where I make art myself. I made some still pixel art pieces before. But for the animation, I just do. This is like the 4th variation of this 4 frame. So I just started with something that really looked terrible, and then I just changed it a few times until I was happy with it. I think when you do animation, just try to look at some references of whatever you're trying to animate, and think of how would these things move over time, And also think of the speed. If it moves very quickly, then you probably need to move faster per frame than if you slowly raise your sword and then quickly swoosh down, you know, then you need to slowly go up. That's quite a many frames, but the swoosh might actually be 2 or 3 frames depending on animation speed. And just small things like that. Just think while you're doing it and you'll be alright, I think. It's a common mistake to think that art is, you know, that, oh, I'm doing art, so I just need to sit and, you know, relax and draw. It quite often true that you can sit and relax and draw, but you need to every now and then think about, like, okay, what's next? So yeah, which do I enjoy more, programming or drawing? Historically, I mean, no, I've always been programmer, but for this project, actually, some of the most fun parts have been the drawing. But I think that's also because it's the first project where I've done any kind of substantial amount of graphics. So for this project, it has almost been more fun to draw. But I also enjoyed a lot doing the programming because I've been doing it using like Odin programming language, and that has been it's been fun because it's built in a way that's very nice for me to use. Odin sort of is similar to C, but without all the annoying old school problems that C has. It's much more done in a short amount of time. I need to get more coffee. There we go. Coffee. I had to microwave it a bit. The coffee brewer had switched off and it cooled a bit. But yeah, I think so about making a game or something, if you haven't done one before. Just get a program like Aseprite, get a game engine like Unity or Game Maker, or if you're doing 3D, you have even more options. Like some people like using Unreal. Just try a few different ones to see which one seems to, where the tools seem easy to use for you, like the level editor and stuff. And then you just draw stuff in Aseprite and put it into your game. Or if you want to make 3D, then you can use Blender. It's for free, and many real game studios are today using Blender because it's actually becoming really good. So there's actually really there's no reason like why you couldn't do it, because yeah, there's no good excuses. So like if you want to try to do game dev, just try to do it. You can learn the programming and the art while doing projects. You can just do a few projects and you will learn a lot about both at the same time, even if you don't know any of them at the start. Or you can do it with a friend. Like if you have one friend, maybe your friend does graphics and you do programming, or the other way around. Don't try to make a giant team from the start, because then there's a lot of overhead, you know, with managing a team. But if you can be 2 people, you can make some art, your friend can do some programming. Or you can try doing it yourself. Dun dun dun. Dun dun dun. Oh. Yes, that's the correct color combination. So there. And don't worry too much about which game engine to use. Try a few different ones. Or you can, if you're a programming enthusiast, you can try using like just a programming language and some library like C and Raylib. I'm using Odin with Raylib, for example. Just get some nice graphics on the screen and write some code. Thank you, Salmon Airy. Good luck with your C# studies. So many puffy trees to draw. It's a single tree. It's not. They're not separate. To draw like this. A fun tip for drawing 2D pixel art that I realized while doing this project. That I got someone told me to try this was to because a problem is that you try to both come up with the shade, like how should your things look, and then you need to also come up with the colors, and sometimes it can be a bit much to come up with a nice color palette while also coming up with all the art. So you can actually decide on a color palette and then just do all your art with that. And I would even say that you can try to go to a site like Low Spec. This was recommended. A guy on my Discord called Jakub, he said that go to this site and go to the palettes here. And that's what I did. Mine is RetroCal. This one. You can see the similarities in the colors here because it's 8 colors, and I just decided on this, and I've used this as a limitation because sometimes a nice limitation will make you more bring out creative areas in other, like make you creative in other ways. Like I'm trying to use a bit more dithering here to sort of add in colors. So you can scroll through it, try to find just find a palette that you think looks nice. Some of them even come with example images like this or like this, and you can try to find something that has a nice vibe, and then you can try to make all your own art using that. But at least you made it slightly easier for yourself to not because initially I made my own color, like I just picked random colors, and what happened was that my game was way too dark because I had made the color of the sky I had made too dark, and then I matched everything to the sky, so it looks like it was just always dusk in my game. So actually at some point I chose this color palette, these 8 colors here, and I recolored the whole game. I went through every asset and like, okay, and then eventually there's nothing in the game anymore that doesn't use these 8 colors. Or you can do like, maybe you can do small color jams, like you just try to draw, you can draw some, not for the game, but maybe you can draw some one-off images, like a little pixel art piece that uses a specific. I wonder if I should do like this. You could always draw like a little pixel art piece that uses a specific color palette you decided on yourself, and you draw that until it's nice, which is sort of like an art test. You know, you just draw a picture, and then you say that okay, this looks nice, and then you can take that color palette and try to make a whole game using it. Also, you can also do that. And then, of course, if you really realize you need more colors, you can add that after a while. But it's just a good limitation early on to have few colors, so you don't. So it's easier for you to focus on. Whoa! So it's easier for you to focus on details in other ways than just. It's easy to, instead of trying to figure out like the simple outline of things or simple like easy to read graphics, you start adding more and more colors, and then eventually your graphics actually look a bit messy. So it's not that easy always to put in colors. Colors are hard. It's easy to get started, choose a few nice colors, but then you add more and more colors over time. So it's nice to have a limitation. Dun 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 dun. Maybe it looks like this. Oh, maybe it hangs down like this a bit. Maybe it wait. It's funny, I have this dither brush, but sometimes it gets reversed in a weird way. Like, there's 4 squares to this, right? So sometimes I accidentally have the foreground color, the dark one, and the green one is the background color, and the other way around. Adam asks, this tree sure is puffy. Are there any spiky trees in the game? There is some. If you go to this first level, this is the spikiest it gets. There are some evergreens like this, and there's also a big evergreen in the background like this. But then there's puffy bushes. I like evergreens and puffy bushy trees. That's even a word. Blah. But now we're working up here. The colors here are also a bit intense, because in the other area you see the color over here. The sky is blue. It's all very nice and summery, maybe springy, something. But in this area, the sky is orange, which is a choice, of course, but makes the area interesting and different. So you can see in the color palette here, the first area has this color, sky color. The second area that I'm in now has this color as the orange here, sky color. But yeah, I just did that to make this place. This is a place you come to with your friend, the space onion. So it's supposed to feel a bit otherworldly in some strange ways. It's supposed to be quite similar, but the sky color is different. Maybe it just looks like it's evening. Who knows? What was I doing? I was drawing this. And then when we're done with this, we're gonna draw the acorn. Let's see if we have time for that today. When we're done with that, then I have most of the base graphics for the game. Then I just need to add, I want to add some extra animations. One animation I've been wanting since the start of the game that I haven't done is there's this, your friend the space onion is this one, so I want the cat to jump in and sit inside here. Currently it just snaps inside, but I want this jump animation where it jumps into this hole here and sort of takes a seat inside the space onion. But that's it's an animation that involves two separate entities, which is why it's a bit trickier. So I've been putting that off. I'll give it a go, see if I can do it. Otherwise I guess the characters have to snap inside. Which, you know, many games do that. Battlefield, you know. But those are games when you jump into a car in Battlefield. The character just snaps inside. But those are games where the reaction time is important. Here I can afford having a animation where you jump inside for a while. What am I doing? Why is this so blobby? No, it's fine. Actually like it that way when it's not as, it's just less round. It's more of a shape. Okay. Maybe there's a small, I'm just drawing by hand here. Fill that in. Yeah, usually I use some brushes here to do the dithering, but since this is such a small area, I can just fill this in like this. Just make sure you have a nice dithering brush if you do a lot of dithering, but if you just have a tiny area, it's nice to have a dithering brush to get started and then you fill it in manually the rest of it. So I have this, just I don't have a, there is especially when you use the brush tool in Aseprite, there is a, you can put a gradient on the brush, so it, let me show you what I mean. So you can tell it to, based on the pressure, make a gradient, and the gradient is this Bayer matrix. So when I push harder and harder, then nothing works. Oh yeah, because my pressure doesn't work in Aseprite anymore. I don't know why. Anyways, there is this fancy options to have pressure. It will go from this part of the Bayer matrix to this one, so you get this dithering. But I don't really use that. I just use this 2x2 dither brush to make the basic in between, and then I fill in the remaining by hand, and that's usually fast enough. But it depends on how high resolution you have your art. If you have very high res art, then you will have more. Yeah, if you have very high resolution art, you will need to move, have bigger areas to fill in, so you will have more, maybe more steps of dithering, and then maybe something like a Bayer matrix like this, or even the 8x8 or 4x4. You see this, so all the different steps in between. Doing this by hand is less fun. Then I'm just, maybe this should be dark like that. Okay, this guy is gonna hang here, so I'm not gonna put any bushes there. Maybe this one can just be a dead stick. We'll see if we fill it in with. Whoops, zoomed in. So Bacon Drinker saw the release trailer and was surprised that the game is due for release in Jan 2024. Is the game 90% done at this point? Yeah, kinda. So the game is, I will try to be very like transparent with the game, that it's supposed to be a short little adventure game. It's gonna be a cheap game, and it's gonna cost you like maybe $3 or something. So I have the whole game done and most of the art done. I used to have this area where I haven't done the art properly yet, so that's what I'm adding now. And then I have a list of maybe I have a to-do list of maybe 40 points, and I think I can pull it off to release it in January. The Steam release might be slightly delayed because it might be on itch.io in January and then maybe in February or something on Steam. We'll see. Because might want that to sit for a while and maybe get some wish lists or something. But it is a bit of an ambitious timeline. Not gonna argue with that. I want to make something that is very personal and is a fun short game, but I also want to make sure I go through the process of releasing something so the next game I make can be bigger. Yeah, no, I don't have a Steam page yet. I'm waiting for Valve to send me I've done everything. I'm just waiting for them to clear with the US tax authorities like they need to do for everyone. And then I will make the Steam page. And I made Steam pages for other games at previous jobs. So I know how to do it, and I hope I can make a nice one. But it will be, I hopefully get the beginning of January. There will be a Steam page. That's why releasing it on Steam in January might not be so good, because you should have a few wish lists before releasing it. If you make a big game or with a big team and you're really dependent on how it does economically, people usually say you should have a few thousand wish lists. We'll see how many I get. This is a bit more about making sure that I have a game out there to show that sort of, I could do this whole process so that I can make maybe another game and do that whole process even better. It's a learning experience also. I've done all the different parts at different jobs with like the release of a game, but I've never done all of them myself, which is sort of the challenge here, right? Someone area asks if I recommend drawing tablets for pixel art drawing. If you make really so I'm using a Wacom Intuos here. It's not a Pro, just a normal Wacom Intuos medium. I think you should, if you get at least get the medium size. Don't get the small one because I think it's too small. Get medium. But it's good for pixel art. If you're making really chunky pixel art with big pixels, you can do it using mouse as well. I've made almost all the graphics in this game is made with mouse. I only have the Wacom since a few weeks. And I have friends who always draw pixel art with mouse. So you can, it's actually a preference thing. But I've come to like using the tablet. It's nice. Bacon Drinker asks if I have any ideas in mind for my next game. I have a document of some ideas, but I haven't really. Yeah, I'm trying to focus on this before I would probably do like some short game jams. You know, just 1 or 2 days. Try to see if I find some fun gameplay. I want to make the next game completely different from this one, because this one was more about feeling. So it was like, okay, this one was like, oh, I have this cat that's supposed to go through this quirky story, and I tried to make the platforming mechanics and stuff fun, but for the next game I really want something where the core gameplay is more. I think I want to make something where the core gameplay is more, the mechanics are more. There's a tighter core mechanic from the start, so to speak. Because when you make games, there's either you can make a tiny prototype and that showcases your core mechanics, and then you can check if it's fun, or you can have this big grand vision that, oh, this game is going to be sort of a game that's more about the feeling of it or the production value. I think if you look at the game like Journey, that game probably wasn't very fun until quite late in the development, because it's mostly a game about moving through an environment and stuff. Or a game like Uncharted. Uncharted is all the Uncharted games are production value games, I would say. They're fun because the game is so much, this like amazing graphics, and all the cutscenes are perfect, and how the game behaves. Uncharted probably isn't that fun to play until very late in the game making process, and this game has been maybe a bit more towards that side. It has turned out to be quite fun because it has like dialogue and the quirky graphics and stuff, and I think people tell me it's quite fun to play through now, but it was very unclear for a while if it would be fun. So for the next one I want to make something that maybe some snappy core mechanic that's fun the first few days, and then you can work on building everything around that. But that's actually one of the hardest things, coming up with game design that has that core gameplay that feels super snappy. Okay, I'm pretty happy with all this. Maybe something over here, and then finish off this thing, and then go to this guy, the acorn that's hanging there. I have been thinking of like some game ideas that maybe I keep the cat theme, but maybe it's a play on some more classic game. Maybe it's Tetris, where all the pieces have different cat sounds. I don't know, something silly like that. Would you also make it a smaller game so that I can maybe quickly get going and polish in other ways. Yeah, it's great sequel names. Cat and Onion, Return of the Onions, Invasion of the Garlictron. It starts sounding scary. Put some poofy trees like this. Do 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 do. Oh, maybe like that. So I fill this first in with the 2x2 dither brush, leave some space because we're going to add in this fully colored area afterwards. So we fill that in first, and then we can go to the dark parts. That. Also make some sure you have some space so that when you paint in the completely dark, you still have some of the dittered area. Dittered, is that even a word? Dithered. Hey Jakob, thank you. This is probably the biggest set piece in the game. The giant acorn tree. Or the giant oak tree. It's not an acorn tree. Dun 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 dun. Draw. But that's the thing about, I think a nice thing about pixel art is that you don't, like I said, you don't need a tablet to draw it. So you can actually start today with you can download Aseprite, a trial of Aseprite, and start making pixel art with just your mouse. And I made almost all the art in the game using a mouse. Now I use a tablet. But you can do that, and then you can start today. No problem. So because, if you compare that to other types of game art, maybe you need to learn some 3D graphics, but then you have this lot of things to learn program like Blender. Or if you want to be more traditional art, then maybe you want a tablet for that to draw nice flowing shapes in high resolution. And pixel art can also be a bit more forgiving for the beginner even if you don't really know what you're doing, you can make something that looks okay. And then you can say, oh, it's stylized. That's what I'm doing. I'm doing very stylized art. There was someone who on Twitter jokingly said that pixel art is... Oh, what was it they said? I don't remember. Never mind. Thinking out loud. This one looks a bit weird. It's fine. Whatevs. Put the dark in. The dark. Yeah, so this is like a giant set piece essentially. Usually I make lots of things with tiles. If you look down here, it's like you have this tile set that you use to build stuff. But up here, this is used once in the game. So it's what I guess it's what people refer to as a set piece. And then we paint like this. Then we I tend to always go in like this and remove, like from the stuff drawn using a dither brush, remove a few points and then add a few points that are not connected. So it looks a bit more like a gradient-ish thing. Here I have accidentally removed all the dithering. Like that. You see, like over here, it's maybe this one should have like a black one there, and then maybe I can remove that one or that one. Okay. Now we have this thing out down here. Maybe I'm gonna be a cheapo and do like this now. Maybe that looks... It might just look better because it might make this area look more like, oh no, it's a scary place hanging far up, and there's... Just remove that. Yeah, this would be better, I think. Now I just have to adapt this shading here to... And then make this elbow here a bit sharper, maybe. Where is that? Yeah, that would still look okay. Looking where the collision boxes in the game were. I'll get away with this. Yeah, the game, Jakob asks how the game can hot reload the... You see that hot reload the texture. I draw some... Hi. Then... so what I do in the game is that I just resave the image. This one is a PNG that lives inside the game folder. And then I press F4. And what F4 does is that it knows it has a directory in the code. It has a asset storage and reload. When I press F4, I think it runs this function, reload all, and this goes through. It goes through all the textures using an iterator here and unloads them, and then reloads them, and then does some extra stuff. The important thing here is that the game itself, like if you have an animation instant, like an animated sprite for example, never has it doesn't have a raylib.texture. It has a texture handle. A texture handle is just an index, more or less, into this array of textures. And that way I can reload all the textures here and put them back in the same at the same index in this big list. And then in the next frame, when this sprite, animated sprite, wants to render, then it will use this texture and ask, oh, what's the texture? I'm gonna draw this texture now, and then it actually gets the reloaded one and all that. So that's sort of, and I do the same for sounds here. It's similar. Just unload, reload. It's nothing fancy really. I mean, it's not the code itself is not fancy. The important part there is to have that indirection with some kind of handle. It's useful in games in general. If you're making your own renderer, you know, where maybe you have meshes, it's also good to have handles, also to make sure your game crashes less, because you will otherwise have problems where your meshes, maybe you on the engine side delete a mesh and then you have a pointer to it and then it crashes. So it's always good to have handles in many cases where you're unsure when the asset is gonna be reloaded or get unloaded or something. I want to move this box a bit. This is the camera volume. No, actually a bit more over there. Kind of. What? I'm thinking if I want the trunk here too. I think that's good. I think it's good like that. Okay, so we have that. Maybe I was saying that maybe I'll leave this one dead, but now I'm like, nah. Maybe we'll do these two branches have a combined plop here. And then we will use the data brush bit here. Use the dark one there. I've also been thinking about the hot reload. Something I'm just too lazy to fix at this point is that it would be nice if I save this and the game has a file system watcher where it's sort of like, oh, it changed, and then it can auto reload it, because then I could sit like this with the game here and paint here and save and see it just change in the game. But I've been a bit lazy to add that, and I don't think I'm gonna add it for this game, but maybe for the classic thing to say for the next game. No, but maybe I'll try to do that in the future sometime. It's a balance act when you say for the next game, because sometimes it's just something that's a bit hard to do, so maybe you just try doing it for your current game to just know how to do it, and then it's easy for the next game. But sometimes it's actually something that's I could definitely implement the directory watcher for this game. I know how to do it. It's just an annoying thing to do. It takes time, and I'm always doing something else, and I don't want to focus on that, because you can spend years trying to fix your game engine code and never get your game done. Okay. Okay, up here is actually not completely done. That's a separate, it's here. Just gonna fill that gap. Then we're just gonna go up a bit here. Blech. Something like that, maybe. This one comes like this. This one goes like that. Yeah, there we go. Maybe now I jump down, try to get the camera to reset. There we go. I'm gonna see how this looks when you fly up using them. There's a spline they follow. I want to make sure. Oh, I realized it. I should really get something to show a dead zone on my screen, like over here. There's red, because I realized there's sometimes a camera in the way. Flying up. Flying up. Yeah, there we have a cut branch. Oh, the layer here is wrong. Here's a branch that's cut. Other than that, it's fine. We're gonna fix some things here. This one is on layer 1. This is also on layer 1. Let's put this on layer 2. And then this one can be on layer 3, I guess. Yeah, these go off screen here. That's why they just end, because I try to split things into not unreasonably big textures and rather just work on them separately. But this doesn't, I think the camera was like here somewhere, and I'm gonna try to make the game so there's an aspect ratio lock of 69. Maybe I'll allow 1610. I have a laptop that's 1610, so I can try that. But I need to make sure that it doesn't show, crap outside. Like there was someone who tried playing my test build on an ultra widescreen monitor, and I was like, well, now you see everything that you're not supposed to see. And that's, I mean, if you're making a game like Terraria, it's easy to fix because you just have more world over there. But something where the world is more hand built, you need some kind of, like, you just know, like in 3D games, the angles where you can't look, there's usually actually no art there. Like if it's like behind a house, maybe there's just a top of skyscraper sticking up, but actually there's no city beneath them because you can't look down on the city from that, you know, stuff like that. You need to know when to cheat. 128. So there we took the end here, put in the new one, extended it a bit. But this one we don't need to do anything fancy. I think we can just do like this. Blah, 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 blah. Thank you, Adam. Bye bye. Then we put some stuff like this. Got messy here. And then put this stuff in like this. Because I might not be able to do this acorn today. I might just finish with this. Then I'm gonna go cook food. Because I'm gonna make fried rice. I have rice from yesterday. All you need to make fried rice is fried rice from yesterday and watch too much Uncle Roger. Hello Narayan. Yeah, I'm making a pixel art game. You can see here, I'm running around. I have my big tree I'm drawing currently. You can also in the game, I mean, you can run around down here, but what I'm making right now is this big set piece tree. And here I am adding some branches to the tree. This is just so when I have an spline animation along a spline that plays, and I try to make sure that you don't see. Currently you can see when you fly up here, you see these cut off pieces. I'm just adding something for that. Hello Lou. We draw like this, I guess. I don't know if I... Okay. We do like this. Tree branch 2.png. Let's just put this in and see where... I don't need to spend too much time on it. It's a little dance I do to get new art into the game. I need to recompile because it scans when it compiles for all the textures and put them into an enum. And then I can go into here. Click new. Choose static object. stare for a bit at the screen. There it is. And then I go here, place this like that. Oh, okay, let's talk to this guy again. Because there's a bug currently that I can repeat the sequence where it flies up, and now I can just look at it if it looks reasonable. That's almost passable. Then of course it's going to be a smooth transition to this camera point, but I'm afraid, Narayan, I don't need any help at this point, but I don't think you need to. I think you can also try to learn on your own. You can just get a program like Aseprite, get a game engine, learn some programming while also doing some art, and then you'll get there. You can make your own stuff. It's completely doable. You can make pixel art with just your mouse and type the code with your keyboard. And just practice a bit. You'll be fine. I can teleport where my cursor is. Okay. Maybe I'll add some more stuff to this. I'm almost like, I want to add some bushy twigs here. Okay, let's add some, just a little. Just a little bit. So usually we take the dark brown color, expand the brush a bit. Like that. Zoom in. Then we put the back side. Remove a few pixels here and there. And then we do like this. Maybe. I don't know. This is just gonna show up momentarily in the game. Doesn't need to be that dark actually. A little bit of shadow here from this actually shadows this part. It doesn't need to be that fancy. Because the camera will go like this. Ooh, and then it go here. Okay. Is that it? I think that's it for now. Let's go back. There was something here. Wait. Yeah, maybe like that. Narayan asked why I'm using Windows and not Linux. I don't know, I'm just used to using it. I know Linux and Mac OS and Windows. I've used all of them for long periods of time, but honestly, when you used all of them enough, it doesn't matter to me so much. But I mean, I'm gonna put the game on Windows, Linux, and Mac, so I still need a computer full of them. And I used to work fastest in Windows. But it doesn't really matter. Use whatever you like. I want to release the game on Mac as well, which is the most annoying part. And luckily I have access to a Mac, but if you don't, then it's like, oh, you can't just install Mac OS on your PC. You have to have a Mac available somehow, or have some friend compile it for you. Okay, so what's left now is this guy. Let's see, maybe I can just do some quick touch up. It looks crazy right now. Yeah, no, I'm not gonna do that now. I'm gonna go cook some food. So that's gonna be that for today. Got a nice tree, big tree with all the leaves. And then next I'm gonna make this guy so it looks proper, like an acorn hanging from this branch is the idea. We'll see how that looks. You can we'll see if I make it on stream, or otherwise you have to see it in the game later when it's done. Thank you, Low Life Dog. Yeah, it is doing, like, especially doing the coding on stream can be a bit daunting sometimes. Sometimes I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing, but actually sort of the talking to people like this becomes like, like a rubber duck. You have someone to explain what you're doing to. So sometimes it even becomes easier, but sometimes, it feels a bit like, what am I doing? People are watching and I'm just doing random crap and I don't really know what I'm doing. But that's, the classic old, some kind of imposter syndrome, or just, the stress of someone looking over your shoulder at what you're, the stress, someone watching you try to do stuff. And especially when someone's watching you do stuff, the initial solution you come up with, it feels like that one must be the correct one, because why people watch you do that one. But I've learned that people actually even enjoy, when I do some programming and then I come up with that, this first idea I had is bad, but if I take that information and do it in this different way, then we get something that's better. And so if you're doing streams, don't be afraid to, just like when you program normally, you should never be afraid to change your, start over a bit or take a few steps back. But it's easy to, when you're streaming, to think that, to get a bit stressed when you're not progressing like you thought you would, like things are not going correctly. Anyways, I'm gonna go make food. We have a nice tree now. I just need to make this acorn not be a green floating head, so it looks nice. And after that, that's the and then I have one more graphics thing to make that I'm not gonna make on stream because it's for the end of the game. And then I have a few animations to make for the cat, and I think that's all the graphics for the game done after that. Then I have to make some additional sounds because there's not many sounds right now, and then there's some quality of life things to the game to fix. But then after that, I think the game is starting to feel like a quite nice little adventure game. So we'll see. But thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. If you have any questions, you can put them on this video. Or if you want to have more in-depth discussions, you can also join my Discord server. There's a link in the description to that. It's both about my games, but it's general game dev things, and I also use Odin programming language to do some channels about that and all that. It's a nice, and it's supposed to be like a nice, friendly place for talking about these things. But yeah, thanks for watching. See you next time.